Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone else in between. Welcome to our 21st episode of the new You Talkshow. All right, this is a show that promises incredible content with credible people. Again, my name is Frederick, and joining me is Nick Isa. This evening, we are opening a forum discussion on the topic of how we can build great rapport with almost anyone. All right. Building rapport seems like, it's a very easy things to do, right? Sounds very easy. Everyone's hearing about rapport, It seems like it's very easy for us to do it, but that's because we have clients and we provide consultations, we work with them to fulfill their needs, and we even walk the path with them as a guide, or even for some of us, a spiritual guide. Okay, but there are some professions that may overlook this component, right? This is an important component that is building great rapport with anyone equates to getting a lot of things done, building a great network, and securing your future. What do you think about this, Nick? I think this is something like my thought about rapport building.
Actually, rapport building, right? Okay, before I just say about rapport building, do anybody know what is meaning of rapport?
Interesting.
Okay, actually, for example, the Oxford Dictionary say that building rapport, right, is actually a friendly relationship between people who want to have a good understanding of each other. And it's actually a harmonious relationship with trust, connection, shared feeling, and good communication. All right. And why do you think that rapport is very, very important? Because it helps to establish the your comfort zone, your comfort environment, whether is it become personal, whether is it for work, or whether is it for business. I think this is what I mean by building rapport is very important to you. And I feel that without this, right, you must have a very good feeling of commonality. Okay. And as example, we are human, and we as a people, we like people who actually like themselves. So we also need to get on the same common ground with the person to build the rapport. So I feel that Frederick, maybe you want to share us more about what you feel about this rapport building itself.
What's rapport? Rapport is about rapport is about saying something that people want to hear. It's about letting people feel good. It's about the customer experience.
It's about the community. Actually, quite true basically what he just mentioned. However, right, it's based on about, and we are human. We have our needs. So basically, right, we need to have the our own esteem. We need to our own belongings, and I think psychologically needs also is very important. That's why we need to balance up the person how we need to build the rapport. So that is a very healthy. And we wanted to have a safety net, so that we need to have the same balancing with understanding with each other and to build that. And also one thing very important, right, for individually, it helps you to build your own esteem, your own self-confidence. I feel that maybe the rest of people who are online, whether they are on Facebook or whether you're on Zoom, maybe you want to give some comments or like to share us what the point about what do you feel about what is actually rapport and what actually rapport building is very important to us. You can unmute yourself also.
Yeah, feel free. Or just open the floor to hey.
Good evening, Nick and Frederick.
Hey, hello.
Yeah, I guess I'll just talk about rapport today. As part of the business, building rapport is really important, right? Basically, that's how you get to start conversation with someone, and we always go into the part of connecting through our values. I think that is the first thing first. I mean, that's in fact the first thing that we do on social media marketing, that we share posts that are connecting with people, like what we love, what we like to do. And not everybody will resonate with us, but building rapport is actually getting people to resonate with our values, and that's where the conversation starts. Yeah, that's my take on rapport.
Yeah, like that actually. It's about getting people to resonate with us. Interesting.
Yeah.
How do you feel? How do you build rapport? Maybe you want to discuss on it.
Building rapport, first thing first is to focus on what you want to expand on. So basically, when you first build rapport with someone, is that you want to be authentic, just be you. In that sense, because people that like you for who you are will generally come to you to start a conversation. But if you're not being you, somehow you pretend to be someone that you're not, you may attract people that may come to you as if it's a reflection, right? It's a mirror. Basically, someone to pretend that they like you as well to come to you, and ultimately they come and then they find that you are a different person altogether. That's where you break the rapport. So it's very important to be authentic when we kind of share our values out there, and I think that is the first thing first in building rapport. And you focus on the strengths of another person, so you kind of magnify that to talk to them. And of course, in NLP, that's the way of how you converse with someone, that when you actually ask questions, it's actually breaking rapport. So, I mean, you can ask questions, but you don't ask too much as if you're interrogating someone, right? You ask question, ask question, pause.
I like
And then
I like the
that
part.
would be a statement in that sense.
Mm.
Yeah, that's how I look at rapport.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like that. Okay. Really a
How
lot.
about the rest of you who just joined us on Zoom? Maybe you'd like to share with us what's your point of view of what is a rapport and what do you need to build a rapport? And why is it very important? Maybe for those who are very just joined us.
Hi Nick.
Okay.
Hello,
Um,
hi.
Hi Eunice. Oh yeah, this is the first time I'm seeing you. I'll show myself too one day. Okay.
Time.
Yeah, I think like Nick, you mentioned earlier, building a relationship, by communicating with a certain level of trust. I feel it's very important that then you create a rapport. So that's when you, again, as Eunice said, you're authentic, and then you create that a level of comfort for the other person to communicate back to you.
I see.
So the person feels at ease, and it's really very important. Rapport is very, very important in creating for therapies.
Yep.
And with this, by just talking or asking the questions, like Eunice said, it's so important to ask the questions to break the ice, to make them feel at ease,
Yes.
and to communicate back to you.
For example, like
Mm.
someone online, like Muhammad Noor, would say that to build a better understanding and relationship. That's correct. And Fernando also said that rapport is where we become connected and resonate together. When the rapport is not there, normally it's hard for us to be at the same page. So basically, right, yeah, what he meant probably is more we need to have the same page, same level. We need to understand each other, we need to trust each other, and I think that's very important. Okay, good. And I think Usana mentioned just now about breaking the ice. Yes. No matter what, right? For example, can I ask a question based on relationship? How you guys meet each other? Example, when you know the person, you need to build the rapport, right? You need to break the ice, right? So, sometimes, okay, how, let's say you're at the gym, example, and then you just say, oh, hi, how often you're here? Oh, I see you there, and that kind of thing. It's how you break the ice, right? Get to know, and then whether the person is responding back to you or not, right? So basically, basically, you need to know whether pickup line is good enough or not, good enough or not. I'm sorry, because we did talk about relationships here.
I don't believe in pickup lines, Nick. so ingenuine. It's like inauthentic, unauthentic, and totally just spoils the whole entire momentum.
I agree, Frederick. I agree.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to rely on pickup lines so much, just don't date.
No, because you need to know whether you sincerely when you ask the question, right? Like Ushana mentioned, ask question. That is very important. When you ask question, the way you project your answer, your questions, is
Yeah.
better to show your sincerity in that question, and then the person will see you feel that okay, maybe he is or she is sincere to ask you this question.
If you want to make friends, with people, yes, sincerity is very important. Building rapport with people, being sincere is very important, especially when it comes to like making friends, building relationships in terms of like how you go and network with people. And, maybe if you want to meet someone new and strike a conversation just in the form of like acquaintance or maybe associate wise, yes, you can ask powerful questions and you get powerful answers. But when it comes to BGR, like boy girl relationship, that's a different thing altogether. When you want to talk about love and dating, that's a totally different thing altogether. Eunice is laughing. So yeah,
Okay,
so
may I just check with you guys?
Yeah.
What a question you will ask? Maybe is it a open-ended questions or whether it's very close-ended questions?
it really depends because if you're asking a guy what he asks in terms of the what's the thing that he opens, what thing he does to open the kind of rapport building process with the lady, it sometimes really depends on the context they are in. If it depends on where they are at, what they are doing. It can be a topic starter, but of course in the whole entire conversation itself there must be some form of flirting element in it. So the flirting elements got to do with like what the guy has to say, what the girl has to say in return, and if there is this reciprocating flirting process going on, there you have it. So you have a relationship going, and yeah, so you have a starting point there. Yeah, but there is no reciprocity. There is relationship.
Correct.
Right?
I believe that.
Build anything without flirting, right? So this is the important thing there.
Yeah. So it's very important you just be trustworthy, be sincere with whatever you do. And of course, very important, build your relationship slowly. Okay, all right. And then this is based on relationship. Okay, let's talk about businesses. How do you build rapport with business?
Well, it is really, really important. I mean, important, but yet I mean, it depends really. It depends. I feel it really depends. It depends on what trade you're in. If you're doing counseling, coaching, consulting, human related businesses, naturally you have clients and you have to build rapport nonetheless. The rapport part's got to do with listening, a lot of listening and empathy, and a lot of resonance, the person you're dealing with or you're working with. But on the other hand, there are also other professions that we somehow don't really focus so much on. Like it may not be businesses, it may just be any profession. Like for example, people in the engineering field or a software development field. So certain things like services, like people call us, an IT service and stuff like that, and they ask for certain things. And what do you reply at the end of the day? Like what do you reply in return matters also. So in a way, building rapport with the client is also one thing in that context. Really depends on what profession you're in also. And the most the most overlooked professions are the ones in the in the professions that do not require a lot of people interaction, which I feel that in whatever profession you're in, there's still gotta be some form of rapport building, in place. Like how you talk to your boss. Like for example, how to talk to your clients. Your client may be another collaborator or another partner that you are working with. So that is also another way of like building rapport with clients and partners outside of your company, outside of your of whatever that you're working on. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, it's true. Because actually, when you talk to client, before you have a communication, I'll just say building rapport with your own client, you need to have your objective, right? Okay, and then when you talk about the objective together, share the same objective. That's where the community are based. And I feel that when having all this community based level, you just have to it helps mutual understanding between one another. Yeah, in terms of your client.
And you be curious. That's very, very true. Be curious. That's a very short answer. You mind elaborating?
Yeah, of course. I mean, generally we are humans, right?
Yeah.
And generally humans need to be understood, one thing, and we need to have a sense of belonging, a sense of identity. So basically to build rapport is opening a conversation with, being curious about this person so that this person actually feels understood. It's just like whether it's business or personal relationship, it starts with, I'm curious about you. Can you tell me more about you? Right? And the other person feels like, ooh, wow, he pays attention or she pays attention. So that's the first step. That's for me. And then the second step is actually keeping the conversation really meaningful as like listening at the same time, conversing the way that you can feel the other person can actually resonate with the kind of energy that you're putting out there. So some people could be very cheerful, some people could be more reserved. So there are different ways of communicating in different tones, different kind of body language. Yeah, it goes back to that observation. So it's the same with our clients. So some clients can be very reserved, some clients are more open.
Hmm.
So we will look at that intensity to really look at how to best build that bridge across. And just like if you talk to someone technical, because I've been in the software development technical, I speak to technical people and business people. So how do I bridge these two people aside? It's like they are totally two different type of people. So when you talk to business people, it's on ROI. You talk
Yeah.
about ROI, you talk about business, right? With tech people, you talk about structure, you talk about process, you talk about step by step. So it's different language. So you use different language for different people. That's just how I see it. Yeah, it's the same in personal relationships. Sometimes, when certain people have different mood, you set a different mood, and you kind of if someone is moody, you kind of set the tone to be less moody, or make that person feel comfortable to open up to you. Yeah, depending on what conversation you're carrying on, right? Sometimes we have moments of tough conversations. So if it's tough conversations, then you have to, before the tough conversation take place, you have to make sure that the space seems to be calm, seem to be safe for that person to really kind of pour his or her heart out to you. Yeah, that's a lot of that. So it takes effort, generally on observation, and also, of course, the way that we convey the message. Yeah, that's what I feel it is.
Yeah, totally agree with you. Eunice, you make a lot of sense. Kai also agree. I mean, she said start with an open-ended question, like you mentioned. And also, yeah, Man also mentioned something like, yeah, he agreed that his motto is being interested, not interesting. Well, you can be both if you want to. Let's see. Kai said you need to tailor your communication style to the person you're talking to. Yeah, you're absolutely correct. Because in NLP, we have this thing called calibration. Yeah, calibrating it. Yeah,
It's a calibration.
Calibration. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know what calibrating is? Yeah, that's great. All right. Those who don't know, I will just include it in the comment section later. Yeah. All right. So yeah, whoever is on Facebook. Yeah, anyway, through that, we talk about professional training in rapport building, and also some form of personality traits. Oh yeah, personality traits as well. That also affect the way you build rapport. I think for extroverts, not a problem. But in Singapore, in Singapore and even this part of the whole entire Asia, don't even mention East Asia, but Southeast Asia itself, I think there is quite a number of people who are introverted. I mean, Asians generally are introverted. So we got to deal with this introversion ourselves. And because introversion is more like, they don't like to be in a crowd. They don't like to, be with people so much, but they like to reflect. They like to introspect a lot, in their life. So also dealing with that kind of personality traits, it's going to be an issue too. And also, yeah, I agree, Shana, it's our culture. So in Singapore as well, I mean, especially in Singapore, I think people are more and more passive. I don't know, because I feel that when I was in the training line, I used to train people in the training industry, and I was a trainer when I was there training Singaporeans, especially. They are like very, very passive. And you know what happened is that when at the end of the whole entire training session, no matter how interesting your lecture was, all right, no matter how good or interesting your lecture was, how engaging you are as a trainer, when you ask one golden question, the $1 million question is, any questions? Yeah. So, and everyone will be like, you can literally hear the mouse squeaking. Yeah. So that was something which posed a very, very awkward silence for me. When I was just there, I was like, this is so awkward. Okay, never mind. Next time, I've learned one thing: never ask that golden question again, right? No matter how interesting your talk is, just walk out of the classroom. Yeah.
Maybe you want to phrase it a nicer way. Oh, by the way, you think of any more question that you want to ask? Like in terms of, do you have any questions? It's like too direct, right? So the way that you
experimented. Bro, I experimented really. Do you have a question? Do you mind sharing what you have in your thoughts? Same thing. It's the same thing. All right.
actually, right, because first thing, right, because we are human, and actually we are Asian, like what you mentioned just now earlier,
Yeah.
we tend to be, it's our culture. Okay, so one thing is we need to actually reduce our tension of by breaking the ice yourself. Okay, so you need to because we all feel nervous and stressed when the very first initial communication. So when we start, the conversation right. Okay, and then this how people just okay and then say thank you after that. So yeah, it's more like you need to have a very good topic to discuss as well
It
when you have
really
an initial talk.
depends. It really depends. You know,
Yes,
as
yes,
a trainer
yes.
once, right? Let me tell you one thing. How to build rapport with your trainees. Okay, that's the thing.
Wow.
Building rapport with your trainees is really
Okay.
depends on the approach you use, especially
Mm,
in Singapore. Because if you train Americans or anyone from the West or any English-speaking countries in the West, it's a very different thing as compared to training Singaporeans or maybe Malaysians even. You know, even in Southeast Asia, because people tend to be more passive, and in order to build rapport with them, you engage them, but when you engage them, you use a very tactile technique or even a kinesthetic technique because they move about. You get them to move about so they don't fall asleep. Number one. Number two is that you get them to write things to each other. So you divide them to clusters in a class, and from there you tell them to write what I've just taught you in point form. Right. So ask them to present. So when they present to everybody, they can show off their skills. You know what I mean?
yeah, it's more like builds self-confidence, and then they can able to talk and then share and how they can, oh, I see these guys, oh, not bad, not bad. Okay, okay, all right. So
So this was
basically,
how I improvise, after the golden question, because I never ask a golden question ever again. Like people like asking, any question? Sure, no question one. So the only way is that, okay, since you all have no questions, okay, you all stand up, okay, give a stretch, divide yourself into this group, this cluster and that cluster. Okay, I want all of you to brainstorm on a topic and then write something, all right, on the piece of flipboard over there, yeah, piece of paper over there, yeah. Then get all of them to write what I've just taught you all.
yeah, it's called you have to think of break the ice maybe games, or maybe you have to do the rapport building games, that kind of thing, to let them open up and be comfortable when they first start the class. That's what I always do for my classes indirectly. So basically you have to like ask them to, other than just introduce themselves, which they always like to say shy about themselves. But I feel that maybe no need to ask them personal question, like, oh, your name and what you like, basically. And
Yeah.
then a very simple question, and then to get them going. And then you ask the next person, so what she like? So this kind of thing more like, are they listening? So actually when we are doing whether use it rapport or doing team building or whatever it is, it's more like you need to, keep it simple, keep it light, and listen, always listen to the person. Yeah, I feel that like, it's more about how you work with one another.
Yeah, I think Kai has a question. She said, how to handle situations where you may not initially click with someone but still need to build rapport. I'm facing it. Wow.
Wow.
All right. So it's tough clicking with someone when you try to force it.
Yes.
I feel that if you want to force it, don't bother, because if it's very difficult. But the thing is that you still need to build rapport. Yikes. If it's really a client, then lesson learned, choose your client wisely. But if not, if it's really a client that you really have to work with, then you got to try your best lah. There's no other way to do it. The only way is to think about how we can, like for example, like what Unisation mentioned, is about creating resonance. If you can converse or create a conversation where the both of you can resonate with one thing, like find a common ground, like common theme to
Yes.
talk about, or agree on just one point. If you can agree
Stick to
on
your
just one point, stick to that and should be good enough. Because you can disagree with hundreds of other pointers, but if you can agree with just one, then just focus on that one and keep focusing and emphasizing on that particular topic. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So man says it depends on why you feel that you are not clicking. If you feel you can't click because you are already judging that party, you'll be starting for how you see the other party first. That's true. I mean, it really depends on how you see the party. So
Yeah.
that's true. Also, I think it takes both hands to clap. Yeah.
It's true. Even I was just say between a client and you, let's say you don't come, you don't gel with one another. For me, right, I will have a maybe have a tea with them, have a meal with them, and then we just talk about a little bit on the business, talk about this thing. However, you ask this question. Okay, I'm just talking about outside the business. Is there anything that how we can improve, or how we can actually build each other better? Maybe you can ask this question, discuss with one another. Yeah, that is the objective, because your objective is to make your everything perfect to your destiny. I mean, your final thing, to make sure everything is done properly. So once you have this, I'll say you're planning to do to be right, to make sure everything is completed by then. So it's how you communicate with them. Ask them what problem are you facing, or anything that we can help. Communicate with each other. Be direct in terms of. But however, do a better meal, talk about the business, talk about the deal, talk about this thing, and then discuss about how to improve, and then just ask nicely. Maybe we want to talk outside the business. Basically, is there anything that's wrong with me, or always ask them about anything about you first. Then, if you feel that the person is very wrong, then you ask. Yeah, maybe is there anything that you are facing? Basically, it's all about communication.
Yeah. I guess at the end of the day, it's all about emotional intelligence too. That is the sole most overlooked components in any conversations or interactions, I feel. I think the fact that emotional intelligence is still the thing or the issue that a lot of us face in our day-to-day life is because it's so hard to master. Do you know that emotional intelligence is not a normal thing in this day and age? Not a lot of people have that, you know what I mean? Yeah, I agree. It's still the number one, really. And yeah, I really agree with Roshana. Yeah. Kai is like, can you share any tips for building rapport in a virtual and remote work environment? Yeah, when you're working from home, it's pretty much of a challenge. And especially when you have people from the other side of like the office or working from somewhere in another kind of office, and you're working from home or from another form of a co-working space, and you're just like communicating with each other remotely. Uh, I assume that there's going to be a lot of like WhatsApping, a lot of WhatsApping, a lot of like messenger shooting about, all kinds of things. But I guess the only way to build that kind of rapport is to see each other face to face, virtually, because I think that's the only way for now. Not sure if there's any other way. Yeah, it's hard to get things done, especially when there's no trust. Yeah, because if you don't trust the person, and the person feels that you don't trust him or her, what's gonna happen is that they are not gonna get things done for you. It's like trust is like chicken and egg kind of thing. It's like it really has to be given first, and then the person will receive it, and really up to the person to want to reciprocate back. It's the same thing with love. It's like trust is not built overnight. It's the same thing with love as well. And that I agree with Eunice, because it really takes effort, but it really takes time. But then again, it all begins with just one step. Like it's like a journey of 1,000 miles, but it still starts with the first step. The first step is you have to give love, you have to give trust, you have to start to be a bit vulnerable and say, okay, here is what I think. Here is the trust, right? I trust you. I think you can do this. Go do this. And if it turns out that the person is betraying your trust, or turning against you by not fulfilling the promises that that he or she said that he would deliver, there you have it. That is the kind of outcome that you get, and you can by then you can see what you want to do with this person, because there is no such thing as like people have to trust you first, or you have to trust people. There's not, I mean, let me rephrase that. There is no such thing as like instant trust or instant love. I don't think there is. Yeah, but I think you should try to be vulnerable first. Like what Man actually mentioned, be vulnerable first, go to the same or lower level to really get the other party to know that you're also human. Well, yeah, because everyone is scared to judge. I agree with that. So I guess it all starts with the first move. Like if you can give the first move of giving that trust, then of course when they feel that trust bestowed upon them, the person might reciprocate by doing a better job. Yeah, that's true also. I don't know, but I've been to Australia once, and I realized that the culture there is working on trust. Because even for their transport system, it's all about trust. It gives you that ownership, okay, to do whatever you have to do, like pay your fees, your ticket fees. They don't really control you like, oh, you have to pay your fees before you get on a bus. No, it's not such thing. But when I went for a trip in Australia once, that changed my perception. In a sense that they don't stop you from they don't like how would I say, they remind you, but they don't really enforce it. But it is like a duty, it's like an unspoken thing that you should pay your fees, like you pay your tickets to get on the transport, for example. Yeah, something like that. That was a long time ago, but it gave me that kind of like idea or insight that, hey, they work on trust. And if there is a trust, what the commuters or what the customers will feel is that they feel the trust coming from the first party before they reciprocate. Like I will reciprocate by paying what I need to pay, right? So that becomes an inspiration for me. And I realized that, hey, trust actually works that way. You have to trust people first before other people can reciprocate that. And if they don't reciprocate that, you have yourself an answer, a very good answer.
And one more thing also, probably need to make sure that things actually done right. You plan, okay, this date need to be done by that. What to be done by then. Okay, you always have ask this question. It's not done. Okay, ask the question. What's wrong? What's wrong is not why it's not done yet. It is how as a UX UI, I'm a UX UI graduate. So UX UI talk about all this thing. You need to talk about why is it why not done yet. Okay, so more because I'm a Scrum Master. So basically, you need to double check the person, have a timetable. Okay, so always plan yourself well. Okay, need to be done by this, or whatever. Who is doing this? So you need to make sure that it's tally. Oh, I'm doing this part, you're doing this part. So it's more about how you plan it well. Yeah. This is how you work harmoniously with people online or virtually remote, basically. Yeah, you have a separate calendar or you have a separate for example, for the Scrum Master or the UX UI, we use my robot. Okay, so how you put it, everything done by this by who. All the design, all the creative, all the words, all the copies, all done on there. Okay, and then you double check. Okay, what is wrong? And then when you present to the product owner or you present to your a stakeholder, meaning your client, yeah, that's how it be done basically, or this be done basically. Yeah. I think you all don't know I'm a Scrum Master, by the way. Okay, anyway.
Anyway, when it comes back to emotional intelligence, it can be trained. So that's the good news. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely. I mean, I just want to add on the online space because I'm a digital marketing. I mean, I'm in digital marketing. So basically, before you get started on, I mean, if a client is new, like you haven't met them in virtually or in person yet, you may want to just check out their social media content and kind of see what they usually post about. That you will actually gauge like what kind of things they like, and you can start from there. Because some of them like they like to show their pets, some of them they like to show their family, some of them they like to show cooking, like some love food. So you start with a conversation that goes into that.
That's a
And
great.
something that as a conversation starter. I mean, this works every time with an introvert for me. I like charging at introverts, by the way. It's challenging. It's because it's challenging and it's kind of a thrill for me. I'm challenging myself in that sense to communicate with introverts.
You need you're talking to two introvert, yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah, and Eunice said it correctly, and I always know that she's the master of rapport building.
Yeah, Kai was saying I'm also introvert, but and I don't show myself in my social media. Kai, I seen you before, and I don't worry, you just be yourself.
You don't have to show yourself. It's just that your
Just be
client, your
yourself.
potential client, you just observe them, what they really like in their post, even if they don't show their picture. They kind of post something that they like, right? They will post some cute babies or some cute cats, some cute dogs, some food, Then you can start a conversation from there. And then it kind of like bring people guards down. And then it's kind of fun that then you start being curious about them. Everybody wants to be understood, honestly speaking. We want some kind of sense of recognition, some kind of sense of belonging. I think that's what everybody needs, and that's where we can actually penetrate, I mean, as a conversation, and then only we get into business. That's how I actually do it. And I used to work with preschool kids. Preschool kids are even easier because they are like so bubbly. They talk about anything. They're excited about everything. If you even when you actually like what they like, they'll tell you everything. Yeah, that's actually how we build that. Of course, with adults, that are layers and layers of stuff that we need to get through before like a child. Versus a child. But then we need to know that also adults in us have an inner child. So we talk to that inner child first. That works for me every time. Yeah.
And sometimes you just have to let loose a little bit. You don't need to be so proper. But you need to also know, okay, this when talk about big deals, then you need to be very you need to be very professional based on it. But however, when you talk about you're just starting, and then you need to know, of course, you need to actually start the conversation, go for the meals, and then talk about business and there, and see how they can actually collaborate one another, basically, and then how you want to go on with it. It's more about the discussion to see whether you're at the same level, and then how you can work with one another. Yeah, that's how I feel that.
And I kind of enjoy the rapport that I'm building with the audience here.
Yeah, it's true. Thank you, Rushana. Rushana, based on your theory, right? physiotherapy. You want to share us anything about your point of view of this topic that you want to share?
Yeah.
Sorry, based on what?
Based on this, what Eunice has just mentioned and whatever.
Yeah. She mentioned a very important point that I completely agree with. It's like every time you have communication with different types of people, you need to know the background. And social media is the best way to find out what they're actually interested in by seeing all their posts, what they write, From there you can judge and you can gauge, sorry, not judge, but you can gauge their feelings for certain ideas, what they think and how they're thinking. And then from there you know what to communicate about. Once you know what to communicate about, then I think that's where the rapport comes in. And you easily connect with them with this. I think that's very important. So when you communicate with clients or like for therapy session, you communicate based on you build a rapport based on their feelings. And these feelings, it's actually universal. Everybody have feelings, and you build a rapport with that. Whether it's therapy, whether it's a business person will have feelings for investments, whatever goods that they are dealing with, that they are doing business in. So how they feel about that, and then you just build on that. And then some of these business people are very interested in politics. So what are the politics that they feel for? I think that's how we just build the rapport with these people.
Yeah.
Not that I've really, built such high rapport, but I think that's the best way to do it.
Okay, I got one last question for everybody. Okay, let's say, right, you talk about building rapport with people. Let me double check on their social media. Let's say a person do not have social media, for example. Okay, they don't happens to post anything on social media or don't really have a social media. What would you do to build?
That body language.
Then I think the best would be to ask questions.
Yes, true.
What do you think about this? How was your day? How do you feel about this?
I'll talk.
Yeah,
Yeah.
ask the right questions. I think that's just very important because at the end of the day, it's like you get curious about the other person. They feel that you want to know them better. They feel that you want to understand them. I think that makes them feel good, be it professional or non-professional. So in terms of professional, you can still go like, I love your speech the other day that you talk about this. I got this takeaway and I really appreciate it. That makes them feel really good. And the next thing is they're going to share more with you. Yeah. So that is how you do it professionally. So
Yeah.
if it's someone that you want to talk to about general things, then yeah, you can go into their hobbies, into the things that they like, even your clients, because they don't want to be sold anything at the first conversation. That's the truth. So you want to make them feel comfortable, make them feel like, oh, you're not selling me something. You're here to hear me out, and actually during the conversation, we'll kind of gauge like the solution, the problem that they have and the solution that you can potentially provide to them. That's actually active listening after that. Yeah. So that's for me.
I think that I feel that when you, especially all these people do not have any social media, as a people who do not really post much on the social media, I think it's time for you to step out of your comfort zone a little bit, post a little bit. And I think it's more about people will know what type of person you are. And then don't be just too hyped to yourself. Nothing is hidden. Anybody can just check you, Anyway, nowadays is everything, camera everywhere. And then everybody know what is you are doing indirectly. So just be true to yourself. That's on my point of view. Frederick, what about you?
Yeah, totally agree with you. Absolutely. For what you have just mentioned, Nick, be yourself. But at the same time, be who you really are. Because sometimes you may think that this is yourself, but that's not really what people think you are. Yeah, and I think it's so important to stay true to what you say or who you are or what you think you are. Because I think there are many of us who probably are in a state where we're really deluded, thinking that we are someone, but actually we're not. So that is something which I feel that we got to really look deep within us to really ask ourselves, are we who we really are or who we really stand for?
Actually, people want to know you. People want to know you. Just have to be yourself. Just relax. Yeah,
Yeah.
nothing wrong with it. Yeah, nothing more.
Yeah, I agree with Man though. He said sincerity, knowing what's important for the other party. Yeah, that's true. And also, we know social media is something someone wants to see, but might not be who the person is. That's true also.
True also, yeah.
Even if you see the social media and you ask a question based on that, and the person stares you in the face and be like, okay, so you know he's not that that kind of person already. Yeah. So yeah, that's true. Man has a point.
Yeah, for example, I sold bags, football bags, okay, JC bags. So doesn't mean I like to play soccer, right? Yeah, don't.
That's earn money.
Just earn money, yeah, directly.
Body language is universal though. I
Yeah,
know sometimes it's like you don't, social media may not be real, but
Mhm.
when you actually engage with them, if they respond, you look into their eyes, you look at the body language, actually they tell you whether the person that they project on social media is the real them or not.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's quite obvious if you actually know how to look into their eyes and you see their body language. It's like, oh, which pose did I post that? Like, yeah, no, okay, probably that was forwarded one. Oh, no, it's not really them doing the post. Maybe it's a virtual assistant doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. On professional front, yeah, a lot of virtual assistants work for business people. So that may not be the real representation of someone, but actually really getting to know someone better is the best thing is to ask questions and observe the responses and the body language. That will tell a lot.
Yeah. And really, thanks so much for sharing, Eunice, Roshana, Muhammad, Nur Mohidin, and also Man, Fernando, together with Kai. Thanks so much, all of you who are here in the Zoom session and also on Facebook as well.